What is money for? Is it a helpful resource to use for good, or is the love of it the root of all evil? Actually, it's both. But God may have a different definition of success. Real success doesn't come overnight. It takes hard work and faithful planning. To use your dollars well, it takes more than a little sense. Hello, and welcome to Dollars and Cents. My name is Yvonne Lewis, and I'm the co-host for this program. Our primary host is Ryan Mack, financial literacy expert. He's an author, a speaker, and he has been just schooling us on, on this program. And today we have episode 2, part 2
Yes.
of credit.
Yes, exactly.
And we're going to talk about the importance of credit, getting good credit, all of that. And you have part 1 was so good. If you didn't get part 1, if you didn't watch it before, you've got to get it because it is really good. You're going to learn a lot. And share it with your friends and family. Tell them to tune in to Dollars and Cents. There's so much information on this program, you're not going to want to miss it.
So we had a great time. And just a little recap, we went over how gentrification ties into good credit, or good credit ties into gentrification.
And for those who don't know what gentrification is.
Essentially, it is individuals who are of better economic means, who are able to move into a depressed value community. And those who are living in the community might be priced out because as individuals move in who could afford to pay more, prices start going up. They're being priced out, and then they have to move out. So we talked about how it's not a black or brown or white thing, it is a green thing. And so as individuals with good credit, having access to capital in this economy, we have to make sure that we fully understand that there's liquidity, having a lot of money, and good credit will allow us to be able to purchase property. Many people living in urban areas and rural America and Appalachia might not have a lot of liquidity, but they can get good credit. So that will allow them to be able to purchase property, stopping gentrification, take more ownership in their communities. And when you see, we talked about last time how crime rates, poverty rates, substance abuse rates, all that, it correlates with credit. And not necessarily directly, but because those practices that you have in terms of paying your bills on time, being able to, that translates into access to capital, being able to purchase homes, having bank accounts, start businesses, taking out loans, all that translates into a more wealthy community, and it translates into lower poverty rates, lower crime rates, lower substance abuse rates. And so if you look at a lot of where a lot of unrest, economic unrest are in the country, you'll see many of those communities are lower credit score communities. So we really have to focus on this. This is bigger than what people think. It's bigger than what people believe. It's something that's traditionally by the mainstream swept under the rug. And we talked about, most importantly, that it's directly related to the Word of God. It's directly related to Christ. We read in Deuteronomy how the FCRA, Fair Credit Rights, the FCRA is directly from Deuteronomy. And so it's almost as if they did it word for word from the Bible. So the influence of faith and of a Christian faith on our law and society is exciting to me. But it's just very interesting to me how they take that principles of good credit and integrity from the Bible and they implement them in our laws. And so we must walk by them. We must follow them. And so we have a verse for today that Romans 13:8. I love this verse. I've said this verse a few times, but I think this verse definitely bears repeating. It says, "Owe no man anything but to love one another. For he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law." And that first part of it, owe no man anything. And it says, I mean, the word of Christ talks a lot about debt and being a borrower, being a lender. And one's a head, one's a tail. It talks a lot about that. It talks about putting yourself in a position of power. And we talked last week about righteousness and how in Proverbs it talks about having righteousness, having integrity, and measuring being either wicked or righteous. FICO, Fair Housing Corporation, is the measure from 350 to 850 that really discerns how righteous an individual has been or how wicked they have been by not paying off.
Financially righteous, financially wicked.
Exactly.
Right.
And so, I mean, again, it just, to me, and I guess I'm a Bible nerd,
I love it.
but it just it's intriguing to me. It's very interesting and exciting all at the same time how so many things correlate with the Word of God. And again, it just continues to prove how timeless it is and how relevant it is and how pertinent it is to being able to make sure that we can walk the path of righteousness within our credit and every other area, but this particular program about our credit. So
Yes.
it goes from 350 to 850 for Isaac Corporation and how they measure. We talked about that. But what we didn't say was what each rating was. So 619 and under is poor credit. 620 to 679 is below average. 680 to 719 is average. 720 to 749 is good, and 750 plus is great or excellent credit. So, I mean, obviously the idea is, ideally, we are able to continue to work our way up, continue to check our credit scores. We talked about Credit Karma being a great source to, I have a lot of friends who are at Credit Karma.
And it's free.
It's free of charge.
Totally free.
Yes. So,
it's an app.
Yeah, it is.
Just put it on your phone and you can check your credit all the time.
And there really is no excuse
That's
now
right.
for us to not have good credit.
Yeah.
Unless we just don't feel like being righteous.
Yeah.
Right? Unless we just intentionally, because we can, with so much free help. Operation Hope has free assistance. National Foundation of Credit Counselors has free assistance. Credit Karma, free assistance. You can get a free credit report from annualcreditreport.com once a year. Free assistance. You should never have to pay a dime on any of this. Please, if someone comes up to you and says, I'll pay me $600 and I'll improve your credit, run as fast as you can away from them. Do not pay $1 to improve your credit. There's too many free resources out there to get your credit repaired. So I actually have 7 steps to how to repair your credit.
Oh, great.
In addition, we talked about the breakdown last week. I guess I'll go over that again briefly.
Yeah.
35% is the record of paying your bills on time.
Now, this is how to raise your credit?
Yeah, well, this is how the Fair Isaac Corporation calculates your credit score.
So this is how the credit score is calculated.
35% is the record of paying your bills on time. 30% is your balance to your lending limit ratio. Remember, don't cancel accounts. It lowers that ratio. It makes it less favorable and lowers your credit score. 15% is your length of credit history. The more points of data that you have, this is why your oldest credit card is the most favorable credit card, because the Fair Isaac Corporation has more points of data to measure how responsible you've been in that. So if you want to cancel if you have to cancel the credit card, don't cancel the oldest one. Cancel the newest one first.
Oh, that's a great tip.
Yes.
That's a great tip. If you have to cancel one,
Yes.
don't cancel the oldest
Don't
one,
cancel
because
the
they
old one.
check out your history.
Yes.
The length of time. That is one of the categories on my Credit Karma thing.
Yep.
The length of time that you've had the credit card.
Exactly. Well, 15% of your FICO score is length of credit history. So that measures into points of data that they can use to gather how responsible you've been in paying off credit cards. 10% of your FICO score is account inquiries. So every time you fill out a credit card application, you essentially will get 5 to 6 points dinged off your credit score, even if you don't get the credit card.
That seems so unfair to me.
Yep.
Like, just because somebody's looking into your credit,
Right.
you get penalized for that.
Right.
If you apply for a card, you get penalized.
Exactly. Well, they view that as you're taking on more risk. So as you take on more risk, they're going to decrease your FICO score in order to compensate for that additional risk that you're taking on. That's how they categorize it. Now, there's a hard hit and there's a soft hit. The hard hit is when you apply for credit and you're actually trying to get additional lending. The soft hit is when someone gets sold your information and they want to solicit you to get a Visa or a MasterCard, and they have a good deal, and they see that you've taken out various things before, and they've looked at your credit report to see, is she or he a good candidate? Then, you know what, let's send her an application to see if she wants to get this credit card. Well, that's a soft hit, and that shows up on your credit report. When you go to annual credit report, it'll show all the individuals who are looking at your credit report for potential solicitation of business. That does not impact your credit card or credit report. So just be mindful of that. Be mindful of different lists that you're on. I mean, we talked a little bit about identity theft. We'll be getting into that today. So be mindful of all. I mean, your information is just floating around. There's the onslaught of information and access to data that we have today is easier than it has ever been, and which causes us to have more prone to be our information stolen from us. But it also, on the positive side, allows us to access data a lot easier.
Right.
Because the Fair Housing Corporation has gotten a lot. When I got into this in 2003 or 2002 or 3, and really started researching how, and I actually created a bankruptcy course, 2005. Since then, the Fair Housing Corporation has gotten a lot more lenient in how they are revealing their data and how they're measuring credit. And so, I mean, things are on the up and up, but again, data is also readily available as well. So, ready for the 7 steps to?
Yeah,
Okay.
oh, absolutely.
All right, so step 1 is basic housekeeping, okay? Basic housekeeping says that 75% of your credit report has errors on them. So you wanna make sure that the first thing you do is go to annualcreditreport.com, pull off of your credit report, get your free credit report, look at it, and see if there's any errors on them. You're gonna find some. More than likely, most reports have errors. It could be a wrong name, it could be a wrong address, it could be, now those are trivial, but maybe not, because they might not be able to get access to send you a bill that is late in terms of credit bureaus. So it may or may not be trivial. But for those, when you get that data, correct it as fast as possible, dispute all items that you want to remove. Those small balances, you'd be amazed on those small balances. You might have owned, you had a gym membership from 2 years ago, and it was $20 or $30 that you owed on that gym membership, or a cable bill, or something that was very trivial, and it's still on your report. Go ahead and pay it down. Pay it off. It gets off your report. It raises your score up very quickly. For those larger accounts, and again, it all depends on, it's subjective on what is large for you or what is not. But so maybe it's $100 or more, or maybe $500 or more. But for those large accounts, you want to start to organize. We're going to have a segment on debt as well, on how to organize your debt and pay it off in the most responsible way. And that's when you want to put it into that category. But for those small things, go ahead and pay those off. So that's step 1, is just basic housekeeping. So step 2, pay bills on time. That's automatic bill payment. We make sure that you are setting up a budget within your household. Automatic bill payment can be very dangerous if you don't have a budget and you don't know what your balance is. So I've seen many individuals who they've overdrafted various accounts because they just didn't know that they only had $10 or $30 left in their account, and they allowed a $50 charge to come through automatic bill payment. So let's just make sure that if you set up automatic bill payment, you have a budget, a working budget in your household, and you're using it. Okay. Step 3, pay down old debts. Carrying balance serves no purpose. And avoid being seduced with special offers. There's a lot of various offers that are always floating around, and there are different ways. And matter of fact, Google, AdSense, and all these organizations have ways that they sell your information to these debtors. This is where they make money. So you can go and you purchase something with one thing, and they say, oh wow, you know what, they're using that credit card at this store, that store. Let's send them this credit card for that store. And the reason that they essentially, credit cards work so well is that we have a propensity to spend an additional 35% more money with plastic than we do with cash. And it's the same thing, like for instance, in most casinos that want to take all your money, they want to give you plastic, and they want to give you chips, because it doesn't feel like you're spending money. There's little tricks they give. The more chips they give you, you're just spending all this money, and that's the same concept with a credit card. It doesn't feel like you're spending money. You're taking that and you're swiping it, you're spending money. By the end of the day, you don't know that you've spent $200-300 at the store or what have you. So we want to make sure that we are not being seduced by these offers. And every time we get a credit card, we're getting them with a lot of thought behind it. And and do you need that card? Is it adding to be a component of your emergency fund? Are we going to be able to use it wisely? All those things should be thought, as opposed to, oh wow, this happens to be a good offer at the particular time, so let me get this credit card. So now, number 4 is don't cancel old accounts. Again, 15% of your FICO score is your length of credit history. The points of data on your older accounts are more plentiful than the newer ones. So they're more valuable in terms of calculating what your FICO score is. And 30% of your debt is your debt to lending limit ratio. So as you cancel accounts, you're actually lowering your FICO score because they're viewing you as having the less ability to take on risk. Then you have step 5. Don't fear credit counselors. Now, free credit counselors. For the paid ones, again, run as far away from them as possible. But everyone, I use credit counselors. I go to Operation Hope, and I just go by and I say, hey, you know what, Crystal Nixon, who I've worked with, I say, listen, pull my credit score up, make sure I can get a free credit report. And she pulls it up on the spot, and I check out my identity, if I have any identity theft, which we're gonna talk about. And she says, nope, Ryan, everything's good. And I walk away. It's just that simple. So there really is no income level for you having to check your credit score, especially if it's a free service. So, I mean, Operation Hope, Green Path, National Foundation Credit Counselors, all these are offering free services that we should be utilizing. They're there, they want to use them. They have to get numbers. I mean, they're being paid by their funders based upon the numbers of people that they serve. Meanwhile, we're not using them. So I think that, especially in those communities where the average credit scores are very low, we should definitely be having our own campaigns to say, you know what, hey, let's go to this church, let's go to this business, let's go to this community-based organization, and make sure all of their members, all of their employees know about these services in this community, so we can all use and take access to these services. So. And then we have step 6, steer clear of bankruptcy. Again, as it said from the onset, Romans 13:8, owe no one anything except to love each other, for the one who loves another has fulfilled the law. I believe in this principle. I think it's one that whenever you're thinking about whether or not you want to pay back a debt or not, just look at Romans 13:8. I think it says it's pretty clear, owe no one anything. If you owe it, even if they say, you know what, Ryan, and now if they say it's forgiven, okay, that's one thing, okay? But if you owe it, pay it. And that's just one way of integrity. Again, as we walk with integrity, then we'll be able to, and Scripture talks about that as well, to be able to do that. And then lastly, this is important, we gotta be patient, because a lot of time we're looking for, and we can in many instances get an instant response if we dispute items and remove items from our report. But we've got to be patient. And I've seen a lot of individuals get suckered into paying $600 on this paid for services just because they can falsely promise that they're going to do something more than what these 7 steps are doing. If you just do these 7 steps, this is exactly what any paid for service is going to be doing. They might be able to write some letters. Now you can get some free letters written on your behalf. They might write a letter on your behalf. They might make a call on your behalf to a creditor. And to a certain extent, it does mean something to have a credit counseling agency that's accredited advocate on your behalf as opposed to you advocating, because if you're late on some debt, there's really no reason for them to believe you over. If you're late and you hadn't paid, so what are they going to believe you for?
Right.
Now you have this credit agency. They're saying that they have a budget put together. They're saying that they've been talking to you, they're working with you, and that gives a lot more weight for them, the credit agent, for the debtor to say, you know what, okay, we'll go with what you're saying and we'll be able to work it out. But again, call, be forthright, and be very diligent in making sure that whoever you owe, that you're upfront with them, you're honest with them, and you're paying back in the most expeditious way possible.
That makes sense. Wow, these are some great steps.
Right.
These are some great steps, and if we implement them, just like you said, there's some places I did business with one where I wanted my credit score to come up, but I kind of noticed they were dragging their feet, like it's a certain amount each month, and then, well, they did this, but they don't do that till next month, and
Right.
they're just dragging it on, whereas you can just do it yourself.
Right. And so those are steps. Now, let's just move, we can transition into identity theft. I think this is a huge thing.
Yes.
And many individuals, I mean, we have to be cautious on how we're using our personal information. By all means, please do not pull up any important banking information. I can't tell you how many individuals that I know personally got their, because they went to a Starbucks or some sort of an unsecure internet line, and then they logged in their bank account. I mean, that's a cardinal rule. You just don't do that. They logged in their bank account from an unsecure internet, and there are people out there who make a living phishing information off of unsecure internet sites. They know where every single site is. They know they can monitor when people log on. They have data, and they have technology that allows individuals to look and see what people are watching. So all this, so much technology. There's data, there's information out there. There's something you can even purchase on eBay, where you're walking by and you have a credit card in your pocket. They can take that a magnet of some sort, go by you and pull your magnetic data off your credit card, and therefore stealing your credit card information just by walking in the same vicinity of you.
Wow.
So I mean, they've gotten very technical with all this stuff here, and so we've got to be very cautious. Odds are that we will be a victim of identity theft. I mean, you can try as much as possible to stop it, but and I'll tell you this much, the individuals who are making millions of dollars a year by stealing information, and their investment in making sure they can continue to make millions of dollars by stealing information is not as much as the investment that we're putting in to making sure that we can stop it. So our law enforcement, our FBI, which is, we just don't have the manpower to keep up with the technology that they're doing. So every single morning when you wake up, I check my bank account online. We have to do that. I'll say that again, please, every single morning, check your bank account. It takes 5 seconds.
Right.
You go online, you have a general idea of what the balance was for the previous day and how much you spent. You check your account, you see if there's any fraudulent activity, and now also looking for small activity. Sometimes they've gotten very good at stealing in small increments, which you'll never see. 0.7, 0.17, so 17 cents doesn't seem like a lot. But if they're stealing 17 cents from 100,000 people, that's a lot of money. And they're doing that over time, and they do it, and actually you notice, like, where's this? And that actually happened to me before, where I said, what is this 17 cents? And I looked it up, and I made a call, and immediately I was talking to TD Bank, and they said, you know what, we're shutting you down. We're shutting your credit card down. You got to order a new one, because that card's been compromised. So I said, wow, that is a very brilliant scheme, because I would have never have, unless I was looking for it.
Right.
I'd have never known to look for it.
Right.
So these little tricks, checking your account every single day, making sure you're looking for any small incremental amounts that are off. And they've gotten good to even changing the amount of increments. So they go from 32 cents to 15 cents to 7 cents. And most people are not looking at that.
Right.
And they don't notice that it's missing. So here are quick, some steps, easy steps that we can use to make sure we can avoid identity theft, in addition to the ones I just mentioned, right? So the first thing we have to do if we think that we're a victim of identity theft is contact all 3 credit bureaus and ask that an extended fraud alert be immediately placed on your account, okay? So again, I'll say that, extended fraud alert be immediately placed on your account, okay? Secondly, we want to close all accounts that have been fraudulently accessed. And then thirdly, we want to file a criminal complaint with the local police department. That's key, because many banks that you want to go to and say that my card has been compromised, they're going to ask you for that criminal report, because that's actually a scam in and of itself to say, you know, my card has been compromised. They stole, I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to spend $500 or $2,000, then go to the bank and say, hey, I didn't spend it.
Right.
You know, so that criminal report adds a little bit of validity to it. And then fourth, report the theft at the ID Theft Clearinghouse at ID theft. And so these 4 steps will, again, to just help individuals to make sure that at the end of the day, they're doing what's necessary to make sure that they are not being an identity theft victim all over again.
What do you think about those companies that offer you identity theft protection?
Yes.
There's one in particular that I'm thinking of, I won't name it, but they say, you know, we'll protect you against identity theft.
Right.
All that. What do you think about those?
Well, they actually do a service. They do a service, and again, that service is something that you could probably do yourself for free, but will you do it yourself for free? So just like any other service, we just need to make sure that we know what we're spending our money on. And I can probably guess the name of the company that you're talking about, but that one particular company does a decent job of monitoring. So if you're that type that you just know, hey, you know what, I'm not going to be the one monitoring that on a regular basis, then I think it might be $15 or $17 a month or whatever it is. That $17 a month could be worth it for you because it's a service or something that you wouldn't do yourself that gets you an extra added layer of protection that makes sure that they're monitoring any additional expenditures that you had necessarily didn't have done. So again, but anytime we spend money, we should be questioning, do I need to do this? Can I do this myself? Is there a way that I can do this less expensively? But also, I don't want to compromise the integrity of something that could actually be adding me value. Because, for instance, and I want to have a segment of stocks on how to select a financial advisor, I do believe that we should get financial advisors. And sometimes we have to pay for them, either or depending upon the type that we get. When we're talking about this, I prefer a registered investment advisor that has a fee only, that doesn't have a conflict of interest trying to sell you investments based on commission. So we'll definitely be talking about that. But even with that, questioning, can I do this myself or do I want to? Do I have the ability to do it? Am I playing myself cheap? Because you don't want to do that. And that's going to compromise the integrity of actually moving yourself forward economically. So for identity theft services, it could be very good. I've seen a lot of people say, you know what, hey, they work for me. It gives me a protection, keeps me safe. It keeps me sane at night. And I check my account every morning. Someone said to me the other day, Ryan, I check my account every single day, but I need to have that service just to keep me sane. And I say, you know what, if that keeps you sane, that's what works for me.
Because it's minimal, the cost is minimal.
Exactly.
And like you said, you have to evaluate it for yourself.
Exactly.
Well, you have given us, once again, some rich information, and I know you're going to give us a dynamite takeaway.
Absolutely, let's go. Every successful financial plan needs to have clean credit and a high FICO score. If we are to see more home and business ownership, having good credit is the first step towards accomplishing this goal. Too many times I've personally seen many opportunities missed because we have not taken the time to clean our credit. The word says in Proverbs 10:9, whoever walks in integrity walks securely, but he who makes his way crooked will be found out. A higher credit score shows the integrity we must possess to turn our communities around. As always, be the change, and remember, the purpose of life is a life of purpose. Be blessed.